Hi everyone and welcome to CyberSex with Simon. So today is going to be our first video on our daily series of working through and getting us up from zero experience all the way to being job ready in the world of IT. I don't have any IT experience myself. I've been working physical security for about the last 10 years and I'm wanting to get a remote job, so that's why I'm working towards getting my certifications to get remote work so I can go and live in another country for a little bit. So yeah, it's going to take some work and let's do it together. So today I'm just going to do a little bit of navigating around on a Windows machine, and then we're going to play a little bit in the command line prompt, and then we're going to play around on my Linux machine as well. I have a Linux laptop. I've went and deleted Windows from it, then installed a Linux distribution. And then on my current desktop, I've completely deleted everything off of that, reinstalled Windows on it. So my computer's nice and fresh, and we're going to work through and navigate on it together. So let's just go ahead and get over there. Take a look at my desktop. So as you can see, it's pretty plain, nothing fancy going on at all. I got the standard unaltered background, and I've just installed a few programs on my machine. Of course, I have OBS that's running over on the other side. I can show you what that looks like. This is just my OBS, and I have a few scenes to choose between. This is just so I can work with showing you guys what's going on my computer. I have a note-taking application. It's not really for notes. It's actually for people who design and build software. But you know what? I like how it looks for taking notes, and it's easy to keep organized. So yeah, this is what we're going to be working with and taking notes on. And then when I figure out how to, I'll make it to where I can share these notes with everybody here in case it's something you want to work on studying. So yeah, let's just go around and talk about the different things on a Windows PC. So Windows is kind of nice compared to Linux because you have a lot of what's called a graphical user interface, GUI. Let's go ahead and add that to our notes. We have a notepad for video 1 that we're going to be talking about. So the first thing we're talking about is a GUI, a GUI or graphical or graphic user interface. So graphic user interface. So interface is just something that you can touch, something you can mess with. And the neat thing about Windows is you can see the things that you can touch and mess with. I can grab a folder, I can click on a folder, I can grab and click on other things. So that's what you call a GUI, a graphic user interface. So let's go ahead and just explore around and see what all we have. Of course, down here we have our start menu. We have a search bar. And then we have other things that are attached to the bottom. As you can see, I have Chrome. That's another thing I've installed on here. I do not like Microsoft Edge, so I stick to Chrome. And this is called our File Explorer. So this is where we want to go if we want to look through the different files on our computer. So let's just go ahead and start with that. We'll go to our File Explorer. As you can see, there's a bunch of information, and I'll make it bigger for us so that way it's easier to read and we can see across there. But our desktop, if you recall, is right here. Everything that is back on this screen is on the desktop. Okay. So an interesting thing about this is let's go ahead and just talk about making a folder real quick with the GUI, the graphic user interface. I'm going to right click, and then we're going to go down to new, and then folder. I can click on that, and you see that my new folder pops up here. So the desktop location will show what's all on the desktop. I can even be sneaky and grab this folder, and I'll move it onto my second screen. I have another screen over here. Let me minimize OBS real quick. I'll move it over. You see that it doesn't disappear. And then, of course, there's applications that are on my second screen you can't see. Like I have Discord. I have OBS. And then some other things. But the desktop if we click on that in our File Explorer down here, we can see everything that's on there. And then using our Graphic User Interface with this new folder, say I want to get rid of it, I can just right click on it, and then I can click on Delete. We can also delete it from here. Right click, and then we can go to, there it is, Delete. So I just had to click on it there. So if I click out of it, when I right click on it directly, you see how I don't have the option to delete. So I have to actually select the folder first, right click, and then the option to delete it comes up. You can also click on it and then press delete on your keyboard, the DEL, that's delete, and it'll delete it. You see that disappears. Perfect. All right, so let's just scroll down and talk about some other stuff. Then we have our download section. You can see how I had to download a bunch of stuff today. So when I downloaded OBS, when I downloaded VS Code, downloaded Discord and Chrome. So that'll show up in your download section. And then you have different places to store other data, such as documents, pictures, music, videos. And then here are some folders that are probably just like your recently used folders. So when we go down to this PC and we click on that, you can see how there's a drive that shows up. These are called drives, okay? And your local disk or your C drive is what's stored locally on the computer. You can see I have the Samsung T drive, right? The D drive, you have your C drive, and then the D drive. That's just an external hard drive I have plugged in. And then when we click on our local disk drive, we can see that we have a bunch of folders that show up as well. Don't really want to go around deleting stuff out of this unless you're pretty confident in what that folder is. It might mess up what you have going on with your computer. So that's the File Explorer, just in a nutshell. And then down in the network section, that's where you have different things that are associated with your actual network that pop up. So I, for example, have my modem, which is connected to a router, which is connected to a wireless access point, and the devices that are attached to that internet show up here. And we can talk about networking later on, but that's okay. We'll go back to the C drive. Actually, we'll just go ahead and minimize that. Let's go down here and just look at our start menu and explore that. So you have like your pinned apps, which are like kind of recently used apps or stuff that, you know, Windows has determined that's important. And then we have my administrator part here, where I'm logged into Microsoft. And then in our search bar, this is where you can type in different things. Like so, for example, we could type in settings. Settings shows right up there, but you can type it in. And you can get kind of more specific on there. So maybe I want to go into printer settings. It just makes it a little bit easier to type in and find out where I want to go with that. But let's go explore settings for a little bit. We're just here to talk about a little bit of the basics of navigating around a Windows machine. So we have our home and our different system settings, like our display, sound settings, notifications, power settings. Then we have our Bluetooth and other devices. So for example, I can set up Bluetooth for like a headset and have that connect over to my computer. Then we have our network and our internet. Shows that I'm connected to an Ethernet cable. So we're all familiar with having Wi-Fi, right? Wireless fidelity. Ethernet is just the hard cabled connection to that. I do have my Wi-Fi turned on, but I don't need to have it turned on because my computer is connected via Ethernet. Personalization, so we can set up our colors, our themes, things of that nature. Apps are like the actual applications that we have installed on our computer. accounts. I haven't played in this at all, but I'm sure you can set up your Microsoft accounts and sign into that and kind of get it to where things are kind of linked back and forth. You can set up like, you know, family groups and types like that. So that way you can maybe have different login credentials for people in your family, right? Maybe if you're the mom or the dad, you want to be able to do anything you want on the computer, but maybe you make a user account for children. So that way they can only access certain things. Time and language. Haven't played in the gaming part of it too much. Accessibility. You can change your text size, things of that nature. Privacy and security. And this is all stuff maybe we can do later videos on. And then this is another kind of important part, checking and making sure that your computer is up to date. You always want it to be up to date. All right. So let's just spend some time really digging into folders real quick. All right. Because we're wanting to learn about IT, and let's start off with something a little bit easier to understand. With folders. Like I said, with the graphic user interface, you can hit right click, new, and then folder. That creates a folder. But let's do something a little bit more nerdy. We're going to do what's called the command line prompt. So in the search bar, I can just type in command, and then you see that it shows up at the top. Or you can type in CMD, and it still shows up at the top. So we've now gone into the command prompt, and you can see our current working directory. So another thing to keep note of is directory and folders are the exact same thing. Doesn't really make a difference. So what it's telling me right here is where I'm working from. And let me show you what that looks like. So this is the command prompt, and then this is our file explorer. So you see our two drives that show up. I'm just going to click on this. And we're in users, so local disk C, we're in users, and then we're in cyber admin. So this is where we're currently working from right now. Okay. And let's just say we want to make a folder here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called the make directory command. Let's pull up our notes and take a gander at that. So working in the command prompt, I already made a note on this today. In future videos, we'll go through and make the notes together. But it's make directory, or mkdir. And the purpose of this is to create a new directory or a folder. Remember, directories and folders are the exact same thing. One just sounds prettier. So the syntax. Syntax is what I mean when we're specifically typing something in. So something we have to type in exactly verbatim, right? And that's going to be the mkdir. Then we're going to have our folder name. Well, the neat thing is we also have a little shortcut we can type in. Instead of mkdir, we can also type in md. And we'll go through some examples here in a second. Now, output should not happen if we're successful. And the important parts of this command are mkdir, and then we have the folder name, and then the interesting thing too is if there's any spaces like folder space name, we need to put the folder name in quotations. So let's just give it a try. We're going to type in mkdir, and then we're going to type in cyber sex folder with no spaces. All right, we didn't get anything that popped up, but you may have seen that something changed over here, and looky there. Our folder has now popped up. Perfect. So let's try making another folder that has spaces. And we're going to use the shortcut of MD. I haven't tried this before, so let's see if it works. And then we're going to say cyber sex projects. Let's see if that works. And there we go. We see that our folder was successfully made. So we can do that in here, but let's just say we want to change where we make the folder, right? So we can do what's called change directory. Let's make a note on that. And I work alongside ChatGPT because I'm a self-learner. So let's get logged into our ChatGPT and we'll get rid of that. All right. So our ability to change directory or change from where we are in the command line prompt is done through a command called cd, or change directory. So let's go ahead and make a new note here. So we're going to make a new file, and then we're going to do 02 and we'll just do a cd.md. All right, I'm going to grab my template real quick. So you can press and click and then move over everything. So right now, click, drag, let go. And then you can hold Control and press C, as in Charlie, and let go to copy something. And then you can then come in here and right click and hit paste, or you can hold Control, then tap V as in Victor, and everything will pop in there. So for our name here, we're going to write in change directory, and that is done via CD. And the purpose of this is to change the current working directory. So our syntax is going to be CD. And here's an example. We can do CD, and it's going to be space C, because we're specifying our C drive, then colon. And let's see, I believe it's going to be a backslash. And let's find a folder that we want to change directory to. So we're in our C drive right now. Let's just go ahead and make a folder here. So right click, new folder, and then we'll just do experiment. And I hit enter. So it's going to be our local disk C, and then we'll do experiment. So let's go back to our command line prompt. Well, actually, we'll finish here. So it'll be C colon space backslash, and then let's do experiment. And let's see if that works for us. So what we'll see after we type everything in is that this should change to C colon backslash experiments. So let's try change directory. CD space capital C colon backslash experiment. And we were successful. So now we're in the directory of the C drive in the experiment directory or folder. Either name works. All right, let's try another example here. Actually, we're in the experiment folder right now, so let's make a folder. So let's do mkdir make directory, and then we'll do experiment 1. Perfect. So let's see if that worked for us. Move this over to the side. We'll go into experiment, and we see we made a new folder, experiment 1. So another example of this would be CD space uppercase C colon space experiment, And then we went into another folder, so we have to add another backspace. And then experiment 1. And then when we change directories, our output will be, well, we won't actually get a message from command line prompt. But one thing that we can observe is that when we changed our directories, that this itself changed. And remember, I'm not an IT expert. Sometimes I don't know how to explain things properly. I'm just a regular guy who's been a security guard for too long. So output for this, there should be no change, or there should be no output, but there is a change in the current working directory. So what I mean by the current working directory is the directory we're working from. So in this right here, we're working from the experiment directory. And then we can change directory again. So let's just say we want to work inside of experiment 1. So we would do cd, change directory, C, capital C, colon, space, backslash, experiment, backslash, experiment, space 1. Let's see. C, cd, C. I think we may have had an issue because there's a space in there. So let's check this out. Experiment. And then we'll do this. Experiment 1. And let's give that a try. And if we fail on this attempt, then I'm going to consult ChatGPT. Experiment 1. That should allegedly work. Maybe we add another backslash. Nope. So super easy. We're here to learn together. We'll go through and give this a copy. I just right click and hit copy on the image. And scroll down to the bottom there. Why is it not changing the current directory? So we made this, so the folder should exist. Okay. Oh. So there should be no space. Let's go ahead and change that then. Let's try this. cd, C, colon, backslash. Yeah, I think that's probably it. And then experiment 1. Oh, I gotta put a space there. 1. Hey, that worked out. So my bad. It's just another learning part is we see that in this first one, when I changed directory, I didn't add a space between the colon and the backslash. And these ones I did. So that's where we made the mistake at. But now we're in our current working directory of the C drive, then the directory experiment, and then within that directory, we're in experiment 1. So we successfully changed our directory. So yeah, we need to adjust this, make our note a little bit more accurate. Perfect. So for here, we're going to have cd. And then a description of that is we are telling command line prompt to change the current working directory. And then we have to specify our drive. So we'll do like our C drive, colon, and then we'll leave it at that. Specify the drive that you are working in. And then we have backslash folder or directory name. And then you want to specify the folder that you are wanting to change to. So another thing for our notes here is note between the drive and the folder, there cannot be any spaces. Example, we'll make it prettier. We want to change directory C : backslash users. And then our next note is each folder needs to be separated by a backslash with no spaces. Folders and drives are case sensitive. All right, that's about what I can think of for now with that. So we've covered briefly make directory, which allows us to create a folder. And then we've gone over change directory, which allows us to move around to different folders. Well, we might want to be able to delete these folders at some point in time too. So let's go over how we delete folders. From CMD, how do we delete folders? I believe it's going to be the RM or the delete or DEL, or RMDIR. So RMDIR. So we're going to go into our notes here. And I'm going to click on this. New note 003 RMDIR. So I'm going to go into my template. And just to quiz you real quick, what was the keyboard command for copy? It was hold Control, then type C. And then for paste, rename this. And then for paste, it was hold Control and press V. Remove directory. And here we can put in RMDIR. The purpose is to remove or delete a directory, and a directory is also known as a folder. So our syntax is going to be, let's give some space here, make it look prettier. Our syntax is going to be RMDIR. And then we can do RMDIR and then folder name. So I think when we want to remove a directory, we have to be in the current working directory where that folder exists. So I'll give you an example. When we use the Graphic User Interface, let's find my File Explorer. So if we go back to here, we see that we have experiment and then we are inside of experiment and we want to remove experiment 1. Well, we can from the graphic user interface just right click. We click on it and right click, and then we can hit delete. We can click on it and then we can press the delete button. Now, another thing while we're here too, just as an aside, is we can click on it slowly twice and we'll be able to go in and rename the directory. But we don't want to do that right now. We want to be able to delete experiment 1. Well, let's make a few more folders. We're going to hit new folder, and then we're going to do experiment 2. I'm going to do new folder, experiment 3. So we have a few folders in here to delete. And let's make our note match up with that. We'll do rmdir experiment 1. And let's see if this will work for us. Let's get rid of number 3 first. All right, so let's get our command line prompt. There's a lot going on right now, so let's minimize some of these windows. So we want to be inside of the C drive and the experiment directory. Remember again, directory and folder is the same thing. So we're going to change directory, cd, space, capital C, colon, backslash, experiment. Okay. And if we're in here right now, I wonder if this will work. Nope, it won't work. So you can ask it to list things in there, or maybe this will work. Nope. Let's try list. Nope, that doesn't work. Let's clean this up. We'll get a new command line prompt. Well, we have ChatGPT here. Let's ask it. I want to ask command prompt to list everything in there. So remember that we were working in the experiment directory. You see how when I launch command line prompt up again, we're back into the C users cyber admin, but I want to change that. So we're going to change directory, C, colon, backslash, and then experiments. I think it was experiments. Nope, just experiment. Okay, perfect. Where we're at right now. So let's get this back up here. How do we get CMD to list all of the directories within a directory? dir. Let's give that an experiment. dir. Perfect. So we see we have our experiment 1, 2, and 3 show up. Let's make a quick note on dir. I know we're kind of bouncing around a lot here, but it's okay. So dir, I'm assuming, is for directory. Yeah. Perfect. So we have our directory showing up here. Let's go ahead and make another note here. New file, and then we'll do 004 dir.md. Go to our note template. So another thing we can do, instead of going all the way over everything to copy and paste it, as long as we're clicked in here, we can hold Control and type A, which will highlight everything. Then we can press Control or hold Control and type C, which copies it to our clipboard. We can go into our note then for directory, and we'll paste this. Go away. We will put list directories, and then that is dir. The purpose is to list all of the directories from the current working directory. And then our syntax will be dir. And then our example is just dir right there. Maybe you can specify having it list something from a specific directory. I don't know, let's give it a try. We'll try that real quick. We're bouncing around quite a bit, but it's okay. And then we'll do C:\\, and then let's just do users. So yeah, we can specify what directory we want a list of stuff from. So we see that we have my cyber admin and then our public directory. So there's 3 total directories there, and that's pretty cool. That'll work for us. So let's put that in there as another example is dir C:\\, users. And then the output will be a list of all directories from either the current working directory or the specified directory. And then we can put in here dir indicates that the user wants a list of the current working directory. And then we can put in C:\\. And that specifies the drive that the user wants a list of for the directory. And we can do \folder name. Specifies the directory user wants a list for. There is a space between dir then the specified directory. Must specify the drive. Folders must be separated by a \. All right, so we're making some notes up. We're getting it all taken care of. So we just went over how to list the directories. Our main goal was initially speaking to remove a directory. So let's go back into our rmdir. And then it's going to be rmdir and then the folder name. But we have to be inside that directory if we want it to work that way. So let's just do an example of that. So we're in experiment. And as we can see, we have 3 directories in there, experiment 1, 2, and 3. Let's work on getting rid of experiment 3. So we have rmdir space experiment space 3. Let's see if that works. Let's see. Let's move back up, see if I missed anything when we were doing that. Okay, gotcha. So it's surrounded by... This won't work. Instead, move up a level. Let's see. We'll move up here. So rmdir folder name. System that cannot find the files specified. Did I spell it wrong? That's a good question. So let's try rmdir quotations experiment 3. And then we can dir. Hey, that worked. So we had to surround the folder name with quotations. So we'll put that in there. When in the current working directory and attempting to delete a directory from within it, must surround directory name with quotations. So we go up here and we can fix our example to be rmdir experiment 3 surrounded in quotations. Perfect. So that worked in real life. Let's try another way of deleting it. So we're going to close this down. We're going to open this back up. Command Prompt. So you see that we're now in the current directory of the C drive, users, and cyber admin. So we're no longer inside of the experiments directory. Let's try to delete it from here. So rmdir, and then we're going to do our capital C, colon, backslash, experiments, backslash, and then we had experiment 2, yeah? Backslash, quotation, experiment, space 2. I wonder if this will work. Expert out. That didn't work. So let's try rmdir, C drive, quotations, backslash, experiment, spare, immense. Oh, it was just experiment, yes? Yes, it was experiment. So I messed up here. I added an S. It's very case sensitive. And then we'll do a backslash to separate that out. Quotation, experiment 2. I think we did it. So we didn't get any error message, right? So let's check and see. Remember, we changed directory with cd, change directory, and then we'll go C, colon, backslash, experiment. And then we'll do dir and correct. There is no experiment 2. And let's make some more folders to play with. So we're going to do mkdir space quotations experiment 4, and then we're going to do mkdir experiment 5. We'll do dir and we'll get a list. So we have experiment 1, 4, and 5. Perfect. And we can see that these popped up over here too, right? Awesome. We're kind of getting the hang of it. All right. So rmdir, description of that is specifies that the user is removing a directory. Then we have our C:\\, which specifies the drive that the user wants to be in. Then we have folder names. Folder name. Quotations around the folder name. So let's do an experiment to see if, when I spell correctly, if we can just remove it without having quotations. So let's do rmdir experiment 1. So we can't do it like that. rmdir quote experiment 1 end quote. And then dir. So perfect. Now we know for sure that we have to have quotations around the folder. So with Windows, we have Command Prompt, and then we have another system very similar to this called PowerShell that we can use. So that's why I have the note here for PowerShell. So we've covered so far make directory, which is mkdir. We've covered remove directory, which is rmdir. Then we've covered directory, dir, which lists the current directory, or we can specify what directory we want to list. And then we covered change directory, cd. Perfect. But let's start working on PowerShell, because some things within PowerShell are a little bit differently, and then we'll cover all of this in Linux next. Actually, what time are we in for this so far? We're in 47 minutes. So yeah, let's go ahead and move over to PowerShell. So we'll close this out. We'll go to our search bar, and then we'll click on PowerShell. So PowerShell is a little bit different because we're working out of the C, Windows, and then System32. Where's that at? So go to our C, then our Windows, and then System32. Wherever that is. So this is where we're at. I have no idea what any of these stand for or what they do, but that's okay. We can see that there's a lot of directories inside of there, but we're able to find that, right? We can just simply look at C, Windows, System32, and we can find it. But this is where we would be working out of. This is our working directory from here. So while we're here, let's just check out dir. That's a lot of directories. All right. I wonder if clear works. Perfect. So we can type in clear, and then it'll clean all of that up for us. All right. So let's consult with the almighty ChatGPT. If I want to change directories, actually I don't need to. We'll just do this. So change directory, and then we'll specify C:\\. Let's see, where do we want to go? Let's find a place for fun. Let's go back to experiments. I'm going to change this to experiment with it. Well, experiments with an S. So we can click on it, right click, rename. That's another option. Experiments. And then let's see. We're going to create a few. No, we'll do it from here. So C:\\, experiments. Perfect. So we can see that we're now in our experiments directory. And then I wonder if dir will work here. and look pretty? Yes, yes it does. It looks a lot better. So let's see what we can see here. So mode, we'll ask ChatGPT about that. And then last write time. So that's when the last time the file was altered, which we can see is today and the time. Yeah, I work nights, so I'm up at weird times. And then the name of the file. So let's ask what the mode means in PowerShell. So I'm going to press my print screen, copy over this, and we have our screenshot here. Then we'll hit copy, and then we'll just ask. Paste it in the ChatGPT. What does mode mean in PowerShell? I think it's the permissions for the file, but we'll see. Tells the attributes of each type, breakdown, d/////. So directory, and then archive, read-only, hidden, system, reparse point. I don't know what that means. So the dashes mean that it's not set. That's what it's basically telling us. It's just telling us it's a directory, and none of the other stuff is enabled, so it's not in read-only mode. So yeah, it is along the lines of permissions. It's not hidden, it's not a system folder, and no other special attributes. So then it gives some examples of, if it was just A that was specified, then it would be a normal file. And then AH would specify that it's a hidden file. So archive and then read only. Interesting. So I wonder if we had a text document in there, if that would show up as A. And we can experiment with that in just a second. And then we have read only files. Anyways, let's get back to it. So we want to make a directory in here. And I think I had a little bit of a note on this. Let's go ahead and exit out of some of the stuff. We'll minimize that. And we go back to our notes. We've cleaned up the screen. And do we have any PowerShell notes? New item. All right. So we have make directory. And we'll go ahead and rename this. Stick with a consistent thing for us. We have, actually we should specify the syntax. Oh yeah, that's right. So we have new item. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Rename, I want it to be MD. There we go. So we have new item, item type, directory, name, and then our folder name. So all of this is the syntax for it. And then we have the name itself. And then let's see. Quotation is required if there's spaces in the name. So let's give it a shot. So we have new dash item space dash item type space directory space dash name space, and then we'll do experiment 6. Well, 626. Experiment 626. Let's see if that works. And then we'll do dir to verify. And yeah, perfect. Experiment 626 came up. So let's try making another one. So we'll try tab. Nope, that doesn't work. Dash So I'm just pressing tab and it's sending me through all of the different options. There we go. New item. Space dash item type space directory space dash name, and then we'll do experiment 6. Oh, yeah, we did get our quotations in there. Sweet. And we can see that all of our folders are showing up, so that's nice. Let's actually get this looking a little bit better. I don't know if that's easier for you guys to read or not. So nice. We have some new folders made. And then let's see. Let's change our directory again, right? And we'll do C:\/ users. And let's just say we want to make another experiments folder, another experiment folder. So we'll do new dash item space dash item type space directory space dash name quote experiment 7 end quote. Let's see. I don't know how to specify the directory to make this in, so let's ask our friend. If I want to create a directory from a different directory, how do I specify where to place the new directory? Let's see. Asking for when we use PowerShell. Make directory path sorry, just bear with me as I'm reading through. So we can also use make directory. We don't have to type all this out, but there's special verbiage with PowerShell, and I'm trying to isolate them and keep them separate. So we have PowerShell, which can run some command prompts, but there are some that it can't run. So let's just see. I'll actually just give it a snip of this. So we have this, and we'll copy that and paste it in. And I'll ask it, you see where I'm going with this? How do I make it happen? Yeah. All right. Okay, so here's what it's wanting us to do, apparently. Directory, and then we specify path, and then we'll do C:\/ C:\/ experiments, and then experiment 7. Let's see if that works. Oh, did it work? That would be really cool. So change directory, CD, And then we'll do C:\\, experiments. And then we'll do dir. Hey, look at that. That's awesome. Perfect. All right, so let's add that to our note here. So we have new item, item type, directory, name, folder. Perfect. So we didn't actually have to type out and specify name. That's pretty neat. We just had to put the path in there, and it already figured out the name based on here's our experiments directory, and then after that we had our new directory's name. So it figured that out. That's pretty neat. So let's see. So let's get rid of this. We can do, let's see. We can do new dash item space item type directory dash path space, and then we can do something like C:\\, experiments, and then \experiment 7. And then we'll just add a little note here. So our note will be like, we can let's add a space there. That way that is orange. We can specify a directory name by quoting the path afterwards. The new directory will be named after the most current directory. So that was a fun little experience there. Let's get on to how to delete an item. So let's make us a new little note. We're in PowerShell, so click on that, and then we'll do new file, and then we'll do, actually I don't know what it's called yet, so from PowerShell, how do we remove a directory? So remove item, path, and then the name of the directory. Perfect. So let's see, we're in experiments right now, and so we have a bunch of folders here, and we don't need the change directory yet. We'll stay in our current directory. We'll do new file, and then we'll do 002, and then remove dash item dot md. Go over here. We're already highlighted. We can just hit copy, and then we'll do this. So remove directory, and then we'll just specify remove dash item. The purpose is to remove a specified directory or file. And then our syntax will be remove dash item dash path, and then we can just put directory. Path, our directory and path. See why I like VS Code? So I like taking my notes on VS Code for a few reasons. One, when you try doing it in like Microsoft Word, it always like uppercases or capitalizes the first letter, and that gets really annoying. But in here, it's not so bad. So we'll do this. We'll do remove dash item dash path, and then we'll do quotation marks. I think this is going to work. So we can do like C : backslash experiments backslash experiment space 7 end quote. So let's give that a shot. So remove item dash path space quotations C : backslash experiments backslash experiment space 7. Let's try that. And then we'll do dir. And you see that experiment 7 is gone. Outstanding. Outstanding. Let's see. Anything else it wants to add there? Sweet. So let's make some more notes here to get a little bit more specific, because there's a bunch of items that don't make a lot of easy sense yet, like the dash path. So let's make some notes on that. So we got remove item dash item, which specifies that the user wants to delete / remove an item. And then dash path specifies the directory that is being removed. All right. So when we did new item, item type directory, let's go back to that item type. So new item, let's add another note here. We'll add some pipes. That's what those are called. And then we'll do item type used to indicate the type of file being made. I'll put our pipe there. We'll add some space. Got to make it pretty. Can't keep it ugly, right? So if anything, this might not be the most like engaging content, but maybe it's like some ASMR with learning basic computer stuff before bed. We'll see. We'll see. It's up to you. You guys are the viewers, right? And I don't think we need to make a special note on there. So let's go back here, and we're already in the experiments directory. So let's try remove item. Remove dash item. There's a lot of stuff you can add there. And let's try quote experiment 4. And then dir. Nice. So when attempting to remove an item while in the current, an item from the current working directory, the user does not have to specify the path. So that was worthwhile. That was worth that experiment. Perfect. All right, and then we've already verified that change directory works. So we can also just add in here, remove item space. Let's just do experiment space 7. We just did 4, so experiment 4. Perfect. So let's just say that we also had a directory that didn't have any spaces. I wonder if we need to add the quotes at all. So let's make an item. So we're going to do mkdir. And, well, no, we have to do new item. Let's do the experiment, mkdir, and then we'll do experiment. And then dir, looked like it worked. Perfect. And then if we do rmdir, experiment, and dir, so that worked. So we'll do that again, mkdir, experiment. So all we did was we tried the command prompt in PowerShell, and it worked perfectly fine. And if anything, it's easier. Also, we typed in dir, which gives us a list of everything in our current directory. But there's another command we should be able to do called pwd, which is print working directory. Let's see if that works. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. pwd prints our working directory where we are right now. So that just tells you exactly where we are. But our computer is already doing that for us. So it printed our working directory that we're in right now, which is the C drive and then the experiments directory. But our computer already tells us that. So I kind of wasted time with that. It was the ls command in bash. Bash is like the command prompt for Linux. But anyways, we did our dir, and we want to remove the experiment folder using remove item, and then we're going to try experiment, and then dir. So yeah, we can just type in remove item. So let's see. We'll go back into our remove item. When attempting to remove an item that does not have spaces in its name, do not have to surround the item in quotations. Perfect. So we're learning quite a bit here. So we learned how to make a new item in PowerShell. We learned how to remove items. We just figured out that in PowerShell we can use the make directory command, and we can use the remove command, remove directory command. Perfect. And then change directory works just fine. And so does just specifying dir, which gives us a list of stuff in there. So we've learned quite a bit about using PowerShell and the command tool. Let's switch over to my camera. So we learned quite a bit about using PowerShell and then the command prompt. And we did some navigating around to see different parts about like a Windows PC. In our next video, because we're at that hour mark and I want to keep these around there, not super long. In our next video, we'll work on doing the same thing in Linux and then maybe doing some more commands. But thank you so much for hanging around. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care now.